Professor, Physician, Epidemiology. I am Dr. Sri Banerjee. Cardiovascular disease is the #1 cause of mortality in the United States. Hi, I'm Dr. Sri Banerjee, and in this video, I'm going to go over a useful way to approach the discipline of epidemiology. After years of studying epidemiology, I've gathered some important approaches which I would like to impart in you in this video. One such approach is looking at the top 10 causes of mortality. So when you think of epidemiology, you think of the concepts of morbidity and mortality, and especially the top 10 causes of mortality is typically something that is publicly available by the Centers for Disease Control. And so in this, once again, and not surprisingly, cardiovascular disease is the #1 cause. So let me write that down here. And the thing to remember with cardiovascular disease is that it's something that is affected by a lot of risk factors related to, for instance, lifestyle. Of course, sedentary lifestyle contributes to higher rates of cardiovascular disease. But not only that, dietary considerations. For instance, the Western diet has often been linked with higher rates of cardiovascular disease. And if you're thinking pathophysiologically, then a lot of what is going on is a lot of atherosclerotic plaques are forming within the coronary arteries, within the very blood vessels that feed the walls of your heart. And so when those start to actually get clogged, and I'll show you in a drawing here, these atheromas start to build, and then so these are the plaques. And so the flow, this nice laminar flow, starts to get disrupted when this is formed. So it's like squeezing a pipe, and this is what causes cardiovascular disease. And in fact, this is not only attributed to cardiovascular disease, but cerebrovascular accidents, which is the fourth leading cause of death, is also attributed to these plaque formations. So before this was #4, now that has actually moved down to #5. So strokes, or CVAs, which is the #5 leading cause of death, the etiology is also this picture right here. So I'm going to say #5 here. Okay, so now thinking about the second leading cause of death still now is cancer. And unfortunately, with all the treatments in the last 3 decades, much of survival and typically successful remission of cancer is it's a 5-year survival. So this is typically considered success of a treatment. Although realistically speaking, we know that actual treatment and remission should be lifelong. So in cancer, there's still a lot of progress to be made. And then the third leading cause of death, unfortunately, is COVID-19. And unfortunately, this was a very tragic event. Many people were affected. Many people that you may know have been affected in many ways. So this ended up being the third leading cause of death. So then after COVID-19, actually, so the fourth leading cause of death is accidents. And this is something that we don't necessarily think of in terms of public health, but accidents and unintentional injuries are an important an important part of public health and important cause of death. Also thinking of motor vehicle accidents. So after this, number 5, can you remember what I said from the beginning? What number 5 was? This was CVAs. And what does CVA stand for? So I'm going to number these. So CVAs stand for cerebrovascular accidents or stroke. And unfortunately, these take place within the middle cerebral artery, which is actually connected to the internal carotid artery, which goes through your neck. And so these are areas that are potentially places for ischemic attacks. So then the next one, the next leading cause of death is chronic lower respiratory system illnesses. So I'm just going to write lower resp. And these can cause really severe pneumonia, and which then can lead to death, unfortunately. So then the next leading cause of death is Alzheimer's disease. So thinking about Alzheimer's disease, this is a not something that takes place overnight. It's a long, drawn-out diagnosis, and also something that takes a while to develop. The disease, as it progresses along, can take years, and unfortunately, people lose memory, and then in later years, near the end of life, forget to even swallow sometimes, and that develops in pneumonia. So then thinking about the next cause of death, main cause of death, and this is another big one, and I've actually written a lot of papers on, and that is, you guessed diabetes, you're correct. And the reason for this is that this is a chronic disease. It's at a very molecular level, because here you have glucose, which is so important for energy, and so vital for day-to-day living. But then this is the same molecule that is poisoning your organ systems, and for just lack of a better term, is causing disease and devastation within your heart, within your kidneys, and within various organ systems, eyes, even within your extremities. So this is then occupied number 8 in the cause of death. So then number 9 brings us to influenza, and influenza typically claims about 53,000 lives, and so this is something is a good opportunity for a plug for flu vaccinations. But not only that, just knowing on taking steps on how to prevent the vaccine. Unfortunately, national rates are right around 50%. Some places a lot less. So it's really important to take preventative measures. And then the final the final cause of death, main cause of death, is something called nephrotic syndrome. And due to high blood pressure, due to hypertension, due to diabetes, one of the major organs that's affected is the kidneys. And so it's really important that preventative measures are taken to help prevent some of these chronic diseases, and then protect the kidneys and protect other organ systems within our body. Something that you'll notice here, I want to bring this to your attention, is that you might have noticed, and this is still true in a lot of epidemiological textbooks, that suicide was actually one of the top 10 causes of death. That is no longer true. And so a lot of the rates declined slightly. However, that is not to say that this is still of national importance and attention, because in certain age groups, this still persists and is an important issue to take note of. This is important because that was one of the only purely mental health types of diagnoses that was in the top 10 conditions. So that's still there, but not in the same way. And also, just thinking about some of Alzheimer's disease and some of the additional components that are kind of behind the scenes from these top 10 conditions. So what I'm trying to tell you here is that I might have described to you these 10 conditions, these top 10 causes, but this is only a starting point in your learning of epidemiology. Once you, and this might be a different list, depending on when you're looking at this video, this list might have already changed, which is why it's important for you to go specifically to the CDC website and make sure you are looking at the National Center for Health Statistics leading causes of death top 10 list, most current. And then you'll be able to just be thinking about different things, kind of like how I went through this list and related this to different areas. It would be worth your while to do the same thing. Thank you for listening to this.